Noah Brown is no longer the quiet son in the woods that audiences once knew. He is now a man stepping out of his comfort zone, with cracks that cannot be hidden. From losing his father, to a broken marriage, to tense conflicts with his own relatives, his life is no longer edited through the camera lens.
Rain and I have decided that it is in our best interests to separate. We're going to take a break for a while, and we are no longer together.
Gone is the TV glory, and all that remains is Noah, trying to hold on to what hasn't been swept away by time and tragedy. A story that's hard to forget, because it's so real. The tension came to a head in August 2024 when Noah and his wife, Rain Brown, filed a protective order against Noah's youngest sister, Rain Brown. The petition included serious allegations of death threats, harassment, and emotional abuse. Noah claimed that Rain had said things like, "It would be easier if I was dead," and "just don't get caught," and made references to guns. Noah also accused his sister of using cocaine and methamphetamine, and of giving cocaine to their mother, Amy Brown, as a headache cure. The order was dismissed, nonetheless, by a judge. The judge said the evidence was weak, some of the allegations were too old, and there was no legal basis for the restraining order. But for Noah, the rejection didn't ease the tension, it just pushed things to another front: social media. Rain Brown soon posted a video on Instagram, which she quickly deleted. In the video, Rain did not shy away from attacking her brother, calling Noah a domineering man and claiming that he had chosen to attack her when she was having a mental breakdown. Rain admitted to struggling with depression, anxiety, and extremist thoughts. The accusation by her brother, she said, was a stab in the back from the person she thought would protect her. While the post did not directly mention Rain, Noah's wife, the tone of the post made it clear that the tension was not just between the two siblings. The situation became even more complicated when Noah called the police again on April 7, 2025. This time, he requested a welfare check on his mother, Amy Brown, and Rain. According to Noah, he received a text message from his mother that was out of control and suspected that both she and Rain were using methamphetamine in a cabin in the Liars Cove area, along with Rain's boyfriend, Josiah Lorton. In addition to the drug suspicions, Noah also claimed that Josiah illegally possessed a gun and controlled his mother medically, denying her prescription medications. Although police did inspect the cabin, details of the findings have never been released. But a few days later, on April 11, Rain Brown and Josiah Lorton were arrested on charges of first-degree burglary, property damage, and trespassing. The pair allegedly stole $75,000 in cash and other personal property from Josiah's uncle, Jason Ayert. Both pleaded not guilty and were released after 3 days, awaiting trial. The incident sent shockwaves through the fan community, with many immediately questioning whether Noah's warning had played a role in triggering the investigation. Meanwhile, a seemingly small but equally noisy situation came from the social network TikTok. Rain posted a video with the music "The Devil Went Down to Georgia" and implicitly accused Rain, Noah's wife, of stealing his identity. The reason was that Rain and Rain had similar names, creating confusion and misunderstandings that lasted. Rain later explained that she had legally changed her name to Rain before meeting Noah, and that her real name was Ruth. The case did not go far in terms of legality, but it deepened the animosity between the two women who were once relatives in the same family. Even though the other siblings, Matt, Bear, Gabe, and Bam Bam, have not spoken out, the rift is undeniable. The Brown family was once built as a tight-knit group in the wilderness, but after Billy Brown's death, things have slowly fallen apart. Each has gone their separate ways, and Noah, who once chose to remain silent, has now taken the most public role in the conflict. What's clear is that there are no longer any boundaries between private and public in this family. Serious accusations, video confrontations, and formal legal action have all made the family relationship irreparable. For Noah, this is no ordinary conflict. This is the end of what once was home, a bitter end and the beginning of a series of other losses in his personal life. As his biological family crumbled, Noah Brown still had one thing to cling to: the small family he built with Rain Alicia and their 2 sons. But by early 2025, that one safe haven was no longer intact. On January 14th, Noah and Rain suddenly announced their separation in a short video posted on TikTok. No arguments, no blame, no shocking words. Just a calm, almost emotionless announcement that they had decided to live separately because it was the best thing for both of us. Noah moved into a guest cabin on the property. Rain still lives in the main house with his 2 sons, Elijah, born in 2019, and Adam, born in 2021. Noah can only see his children if he texts them first, and he no longer shares any images of them publicly, per Rain's request. This marks a big change from the past, when Noah regularly updated his family life, posting moments of playing with his children and recounting his journey as a father. Losing control of information and images about his 2 children led him to go quiet on social media for a short time afterward. Noah had previously recounted his entire love journey with Rain in a series of TikTok videos throughout 2023. From their first meeting in 2016, their first conversation, to their wedding in 2018, and their early days as a father. Those videos were seen as a clear attempt to maintain a family image, as Noah tried to create something positive amidst the constant conflict with his family of origin. But when the separation announcement came, all those beautiful memories were pushed into a void, where everything that was once important now became irreversible. Fans are divided into 2 distinct camps. One side criticizes Rain for restricting Noah's access to and sharing of images of his children, arguing that it is pushing him away from the family he helped build. The other side believes that Rain is simply protecting his children's privacy and mental stability, during a period when Noah himself is not truly balanced. Regardless of which side they are on, they all see one thing in common. Noah is losing everything that was once his foundation, but the separation. Noah continued to post about his 2 sons, but only indirectly. He talked about fixing toys, Elijah's pranks, how Adam used to run out to greet him when he came home. No photos, no videos, just empty, but emotional text and clips. The feeling of being separated from the people he loved most was evident in every expression, unobtrusive, without explanation. It's also worth noting that Noah and Rain have avoided using mainstream media platforms to make their statements. They haven't sent out press releases, appeared on talk shows, or taken their stories to television. It's all happening in their personal online spaces, where Noah controls the message, but also faces the full force of unfiltered public feedback. Noah's marriage did not disintegrate with a bang. It retreated quietly, step by step, leaving a void that could not be filled by words or actions. And in that void, a once strong man now held on to the smallest things, a few anonymous lines of sharing, a little memory of his son, and a fragile belief that he was still a proper father, albeit from afar. When all points of support disappear, 3 major events in less than 4 years had crushed the very foundation on which Noah Brown had lived, worked, and survived the death of his father, the loss of his home, and a long decline in his health. Not a scandal, not a moment of rebellion, just the bricks of his life coming crashing down, one by one, leaving him disoriented, even if it wasn't obvious from the outside. In February 2021, Billy Brown, the father who led the family through decades of off-grid living, died after suffering a seizure. He was not only the financial and spiritual pillar, but also the person who set the entire ideology of life for the Brown family. Noah has said many times that his father was the only person he felt could make sense of everything in this world. Billy's death was not just an emotional loss, but a withdrawal from the entire model that the family had clung to. From then on, the leadership role in the family began to fade. Each person fended for themselves, lived their own way, and it was in that void that conflicts began to arise, gradually pushing all members apart. But the tragedy didn't end there. In August 2020, just 6 months before Billy's death, a massive wildfire destroyed the entire North Star Ranch in Palmer Mountain, Washington. The 6,000-acre property had been a model for the Brown family's subsistence lifestyle. The fire forced Noah, Rain, and their 2 children to leave the home they built with their own hands. The family was temporarily living in an urban area, a stark contrast to the philosophy Noah had been raised on. Moving to a new environment was not easy. According to Noah's later social media posts, the move was not due to family conflicts or personal reasons, but simply because there was no place to live. Soon after, Noah and Rain found a house on a small island, a place that allowed them to continue their semi-isolated lifestyle, somewhat recreating their sense of connection to nature. But mentally, the breakup occurred. The loss of home, familiar land, and common support caused all previous bonding values to fade away. Not many people know this, but Noah suffered from post-concussion syndrome, the result of multiple concussions in the past, while working outdoors without protective gear. The syndrome causes persistent symptoms such as dizziness, short-term memory loss, sleep disturbances, and mood swings. In recent videos, Noah has admitted briefly that he sometimes can't remember what I was going to do a minute ago. It's not a visible injury, but it silently erodes cognitive abilities, emotional stability, and the ability to connect with others. When you put it all together, a man who has just lost his father, lost his home, and has a difficult mental health condition to treat, it's understandable that Noah would become fatigued, avoid the media, and have difficulty managing his personal conflicts. Not everyone is mentally prepared to process trauma in silence, and Noah is clearly not the type of person who can just brush things off and move on as if nothing happened. With no show to set the scene, no father to lean on, no home to return to, Noah Brown had to rebuild everything from scratch, with a body that was still recovering and a spirit that was still in tatters. And among so many things lost, the most remarkable thing was he still did not give up. Collapsing image behind the screen. For years, Noah Brown was synonymous with the quiet, reserved, effective son of the wild. On Alaskan Bush People, he was often portrayed as the maker, programmer, and problem solver of the family. But after all his personal drama, the public began to see a different side of him, one that was no longer framed by camera angles or scripted narration. Since around 2022, when the show went on hiatus, all the attention for Noah has come from not on television, but from what he shows on social media. And from that moment on, the image of the genius living in the woods began to be put on the public's operating table, without mercy. Part of the reason lies in the show's premise. Alaskan Bush People has been criticized for its lack of authenticity. Rumors have suggested that the Browns were not as isolated as they appear on television. They reportedly used modern conveniences during filming, lived close to town, and had a life that ran parallel to the one they were shown on air. Inventions that were presented as groundbreaking were also suspected to be technically guided by the production team. As the family's chief fabricator, Noah finds himself at the center of these questions. People question whether his devices are actually randomly generated from their environment, or are engineered to feel extraordinary, because he rarely speaks up. Noah's image has shifted from trustworthy to untrustworthy, not because he's done anything wrong, but because he leaves too much room for interpretation. A major blow to the Brown family's reputation came in 2016 when Billy Brown and Joshua Bam Bam Brown were indicted for fraud in Alaska's Permanent Dividend Fund program. They were accused of receiving benefits while no longer residing in the state, an act that is considered fraud under the law. Noah was not named in the case, but as a member of the family, his name inevitably came up in news reports and debates. People who had believed in the image of unity, hard work, and simple living that the program had built began to doubt it, and that doubt has followed Noah to this day. After the show stopped production, the family members went their separate ways. Some continued to use social media to stay connected with fans. Noah, nevertheless, took a clear step back. He did not accept media invitations, did not participate in promotional events, and did not develop his personal channel in a way that made money. What he posted was mainly diary-like feelings, thoughts, updates about his family. He talked more about the past than the present, a sign that he had not fully emerged from the psychological turmoil he was in. Noah's purchase of a small island in Alaska in 2024 further solidifies the notion that he's no longer interested in a media comeback. The island has no accompanying projects, no plans to film or develop into a TV destination. It's simply a retreat, a physical space where he can live on his own terms, unseen, unexplained. Though he was once a public figure, Noah has now chosen silence as a means of self-preservation. The collapse of his public image did not happen in a single clear moment. It was the result of a long series of doubts, contradictions, and silences. For Noah, everything he once stood for has faded. Out of the spotlight, there is only the real person, quietly withdrawing from everything that once made him famous. Another way of existing. Noah Brown was once a man in the woods whose influence extended far beyond the confines of his home. After the show ended and his relationships with others began to unravel, Noah has been less of a public presence, but that doesn't mean he's given up entirely. He's living a different life, slower, more private, and more determined in how he chooses to be present. In 2023, Noah began to change significantly in appearance and demeanor. He lost weight, followed a special diet, exercised regularly, and posted the first pictures of his transformation. His face was more angular, his body was toned, and his gaze was somewhat more confident than before. The posts were not meant to brag, but rather a gentle reminder to his fans he was still here, still trying. For someone who had just experienced a series of psychological shocks, proactively adjusting his lifestyle was a significant signal that Noah had not lost all his inner motivation. No longer allowed to share photos of his sons under the separation agreement, Noah finds a way to talk about them through memories, the time his son stumbled while learning to walk, the laughter in the backyard, the first words he said every morning. He doesn't sound pathetic, but the restraint in his telling makes the viewer feel that what he remembers is not just a moment, but something he no longer has the right to hold. The most recent major event involved Noah's mother, Amy Brown, who was hospitalized with pneumonia in February 2025. But the conflict that had existed before, Noah showed up at the hospital, sharing a photo of himself holding his mother's hand, along with a simple caption, "My mom is a fighter, always has been." The post received a lot of sympathy, especially from those who had suspected him of being too harsh on his family. His quiet presence in that situation showed that conflict doesn't always erase family, and not everything needs to be spoken out to be understood. If you found this to be something that has made you think, please leave a like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more real-life stories like this. Leave a comment too. Sometimes, a few sincere words are all it takes to make someone feel less alone.